In life, there are many analogies, metaphors and stories that overshadow the truth. Truth in plain sight, covered by the illusion of difference. And we must look past it. In relation to the circuit board Earth, the energy harvesting videos that I have presented, I offer an explanation with a visual aid to help you see. If we imagine ourselves as batteries, essentially the body a vessel carrying energy, sitting upon a circuit or a bigger battery, mirroring itself up and down like a Russian doll, the fractured universe we are all aware of, the realm of battery and we the energy. But all energy has a shell, and the shell for us is our body. In religion, the energy I refer to is the spirit. In others, it may be called life source. Others may call it consciousness. All names and appearances. Essentially, everything is energy, appearing as something else. That is the illusion. So imagine us as energy and the world as a self-sufficient circuit. We the energy locked into a cycle between two poles of negative and positive, seen as heaven and hell. In terms of energy harvesting, the process is as follows. Each person is energy. Imagine as a battery for the visual. A battery that starts off fresh and pure. All batteries are full of energy until they start to deplete. So our energy starts off pure, full. And as we age, we are corrupted by sin. Our energy not only depletes, but also becomes polluted. For this, think as the energy is air, the air that is polluted with toxins. For us, the toxins are the wants and desires of the mind that attach us to the realm and keep us from the truth. Their plan, to take all knowledge from beings so they do not know themselves, keep them locked in a cycle of this energy harvesting where they are clueless to the fundamentals of life, so they become predictable, like machines, running purely from thought and the programming they have received. Thought that keeps them lost from the truth of themselves and their power. And this would be the same reason for cults, why pure young innocent blood is important. Same with vampires, make believe or not. If you see us as batteries, as energy, the energy has different variations from pure to unpure or corrupted. Not only that, the energy depletes. The younger something is, the more energy it has, alongside the pureness or the being of uncorrupted, unpolluted. Children in this case are perfect, as seen in things such as Dr. Sleep, with the sucking of steam. Steam is energy, soul, consciousness, call it whatever you like. We all have it, it's life force. And I am talking about the fundamentals and essence of this energy, which is different to the personality which sits upon that. In gaming, we would see this as a profile, a gamer tag, a gaming profile, which ultimately is an avenue for one to play through, but isn't that player. It is a profile which sits upon the game's engine, the game playing through the profile. If we look at, say, the chemical process and how it compares, what the story is, the process, I won't go into every point, but the chemical process is basically taking a base metal and transmuting it into its purest form, often known as the Philosopher's Stone or associated with that. Comparing that to us, you are the base metal which transmutes. It's all an inner process. You transform from a lower form or a more unpure form into its purest. You have been corrupted all your life, programmed, and have been lost. First, we must separate the thoughts and the identity that have been placed upon us from the pure spirit, seen as separating the subtle from the gross. The gross being the identity, the subtle being the pure spirit. Everything we have learned and have been told we must discard. For a battery, the energy, like air, remember, will release all its toxins and return to its pureness of before. Think of John Coffey in The Green Mile, how he sucks out the negativity and the badness from other people, the illnesses, sucks out all their toxins and badness and then releases it. Once the toxins and impurities are burnt away, let go, whatever word you want to use, the inner is clean. For a computer, this would be an antivirus program or similar program, which clears the program of any viruses and corruptions. More so like a defragmentation, which finds all corrupted files and discards them, only leaving the originals, replacing it to a former like self. Once you have that pure energy, you then must further transmute it into its purer form. Many other processes can be associated with this, such as the element of water and the washing away, or the element of fire, of burning away. And then water being clear and pure also. Water having its three phases of water, steam and ice, relating heavily to man. As said, this energy must be further transmuted, further burned in the fire, like the tempering of a fine sword. This of course would be after the fact of one realising the truths of life. A rebuilding of sorts is done from the old false self. A new clean self is born, which is further transmuted into a purer, more powerful source of energy, connecting to the source itself and recognising itself as the source. As so in a battery, once the pollutant is gone, the pure energy inside could be fired up and supercharged if you like. As stated, an important factor to this is the recognition of I am, the connection to all. So for a battery or a computer, this is like connecting to the internet for the computer, or the connecting to the power source for the battery. But realisation, you are not the computer or the battery, but the energy. You are all. Connecting to the source gives you great power to replenish yourself. This is where healing and all types of siddhis and powers come into play. Through connection with the source, such as a battery collecting to its source, it can heal itself, replenish itself, give itself more power. As so we see batteries get recharged. With all this said, energy harvesting takes all these components and reverses them. Rather than you empowering yourself and becoming supercharged, your energy is drained and changed, corrupted or polluted, never allowing you to be the super. Actually taking away your energy. Think of a battery being polluted, the energy being changed. And for us, this would be via programming, the TV, the media, rules and laws. Everything one has ever learned that basically makes the energy unpure. And due to this, in turn, they have to take much more of this energy because of its impurity. Like in football stadiums and concerts, the energy is corrupted, but there is a lot of it. Imagine the people as batteries and the stadiums being bigger batteries themselves, which suck and drain the energy inside of that. So every time a fan cheers, roars, screams, that energy is drained into the larger battery. That being a stadium, a concert, a theatre, all the same, all venues, your energy is being drained into a bigger battery. And as stated in previous videos, if not drained and harvested, transmuted to then play a further role in the world. For when a football team loses, that negative energy creates negativity in the world, increases crime and violence among other things.
These environments are always crazy. You know, the first time you walk into these stadiums, they're massive. It's actually, I always feel like it's that proverbial calm before the storm, because when you put 70,000 people in here 24 hours from now, it's going to be deafening. And right now it's just this cave, just void and silence, and I don't know. It's hard to describe what it feels like in here, and in your mind you try to picture it when it's going to be full, but you really can't. This place will be incredible tomorrow. The vibe in here, I don't know if it's anything like it has been outside of here. Just being around the city of Melbourne and just seeing the fans that are here from all around the world, this place will be electric. This place will be electric.
I saw you comfortable in the role of villain, but tonight you'll be the hero. Is there either role that you find suits you better?
I'm not playing a role. Every crowd has a different energy. Every place has a different energy. I just feed off the energy, and whatever that energy is. Every crowd has a different energy. Every place has a different energy. I just feed off the energy, and whatever that energy is, it is.
Stadiums. America has a lot of them, and they are increasingly fantastic.
At the home of the Dallas Cowboys, here's what you also get. Real art by world-renowned artists.
The Party Suite is all about watching the game or concert in style.
You can do bottle service, you can set up, come in before the game. You know, you get the snake skin, you know, they add the gold age so everybody knows where you're sitting.
There are 14 party cabanas and 2 pools watched by lifeguards that look out on the field. Just look toward the end zone. Yep, those swimming pools are inside the stadium.
That's right. You can now watch a game from a swimming pool suspended above the field. The Milwaukee Bucks, who are also currently threatening to leave if they don't get a new arena, are running this ad now.
The ripple effect starts here. This is Wisconsin's home. From the court to concerts, transforming a community with new development, jobs, growth, and opportunity. The ripple effect of a new era begins today. It spreads across the riverfront, up through Bronzeville, and across the great state of Wisconsin.
Violence, and lots of work to be done. No place to hang out or washing, and I can't blame all on the sun. Oh no. Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh, we gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
Settle down, Milwaukee Bucks. For a start, I don't think Wisconsin will be transformed by one new arena. And also, if you really are looking to make a tangible change, how about coming up with a better slogan than Fear the Deer? Deers aren't scary, they're timid forest ponies with sticks on their heads. I fear no deer. The truth is, stadiums very rarely revitalise their surrounding areas or create large numbers of permanent jobs. Just listen to one bar owner near that new Marlins ballpark.
He says since the stadium opened in 2012, not only have his profits not risen, on game days his regulars stay away, afraid of the traffic.
Here as a business owner, we don't see any changes. You could even say it's hurting us.
Of course it is, because no one has ever said, hey, let's go hang out in the area around the stadium. And I'll tell you why, I've got a new shirt and I really want someone to vomit Miller Lite and nachos all over it. In fact, a major review of almost 20 years of studies showed economists could find no substantial evidence that stadiums had increased jobs, incomes, or tax revenues.
Jacksonville Jaguars are developing a brand new state-of-the-art training facility, and Miller Electric Company is honored to be playing a large role in its construction. Located right next to the TIAA Bank Field, the $120 million Performance Center will feature practice fields, locker rooms, medical facilities, office spaces, a draft room, shaded stands for the public, concessions, a Jaguar store, and more. It will be known as the Miller Electric Center. We were able to secure the naming rights thanks to our time-tested partnership with the Jaguars. Our relationship goes back decades. We've had a hand in every major construction endeavor since the team's inception, including their stadium construction, Daly's Place, their record-breaking scoreboards, and many renovations.
The question of what they then do with the energy is debatable, and what we are currently researching. Some people suggest they sell it back to us.
We need this. Our city is counting on you to collect those children's screams. Without Scream, we have no power.
Some say to open portals. Others say to feed something more evil.
One of the greatest exorcists of all time.
Seal of the Spanish Inquisition.
His journal. Today, I was summoned to the town of Segovia, a possessed monk, in the year of our Lord 1475. When questioning the demon possessing the monk, he answered me from the mouth of another, and then a third.
Multiple possessions. It's a powerful demon.
The exorcist becomes possessed himself.
Friar de Ojeda.
You know he is the man who convinced Queen Isabella of the need for an inquisition. So that means, from the time he is possessed in 1475, everything that happens after this is the work of the devil. Centuries of persecution and torture. The worst abuses of the Inquisition, all started by the friar and done in the name of God, by the devil. The Vatican must have known this. The church covered it up, and they buried the truth here.
The construction work must have freed the demon.
The great dragon was hurled down, hurled into the earth, where he was bound.
And his angels with him.
200 rogue angels buried into the earth. This abbey is one of those godforsaken places. This demon, he is trying to find them to raise an army.
And then you have the question of immortality.
Can an immortal meet mortality?
Several ways. Starvation. Deny the body the blood. Conversely, drink the blood of the dead. Then there's fire. Consume the body with fire and it can house no spirit. Decapitation. He confided that to me one blood-drunken night in Baton Rouge.
For me, there are truth in almost all these theories. Our energy is being sold back to us, as you can see this in a number of ways. Whether that's us working for our own resources, or our energy literally being drained and then sold back to us and used as everyday energy. The portals and gates to the unseen and other dimensions I know possible, and it seems energy is key to that, often associated with blood. Blood sacrifice, as blood, the killing of a being, ultimately releases the energy. So more so looking at the importance of blood, look at the importance of the energy. Not only the energy, but location seems to play part too. Again, linked to purer energy, children. Evil often chooses specific locations and specific children, where they are put through ritual and sacrifice for purposes of selfish desire.
You gotta open a canister, Rosie.
We took steam 6 months ago. Close 6 months is nothing.
That kid in Delaware wasn't so steamy. It's already showing. He used to be more steamy than that.
Oh, don't be daft. Come on. It's like when Rube's saying 50 years ago people used to be more neighborly.
But it's true, Rosie. There's less steam out there and it's weaker too. I don't know if it's their cell phones or diets or Netflix or what, but I am not picking up many scents these days. And the ones that I do, Rosie, are just
I'll
not
open a
as-
canister tonight to tide everyone up.
Thank you. The world's not as steamy and you are looking for a whale.
In relation to feeding something more evil, I came across a video, The Pope's Exorcist, and I took a clip from it which highlights the mining as not only for resources, but to find older technology or beings, and then once found, the feeding of that technology or beings via our energy. And the reason I say technology or beings is there is evidence to suggest that the physical version of angels is technology. One of the final options and more favourable ones is immortality, and I have many thoughts around immortality and the energy harvesting. I feel I need to start by explaining dark and light and my thoughts around that before my thoughts on immortality and the connection to the battery or energy. Light and dark, even white or black. Black is an absorber of colour and energy, whereas white is the opposite. Remember your mom telling you about black clothing in the summer, how it absorbs the heat. This is the cycle we see in life, the continuum. White or light being the giver and black or dark being the taker in an infinite cycle of giving and taking. In the type of equation I'm talking about, one side could never win. There will always be dark and there will always be light. Just cycles and variations of dark and light, seemingly in a battle. For darkness to survive, it needs light. It feeds from light. Without light, there would be no darkness. This is the duality of life. And in relation to this, how darkness needs light to survive, this is where the energy harvesting around the world in every form comes in. As said, we are like batteries and that energy can be drained from us, also manipulated. But we can also receive energy. It's the trio. But darkness lives and can only survive by killing and feeding on light, appearing as immortal, but really just surviving, and that survival dependent on energy, often shown as blood. Transference of life force is only shown in movie, myth and legend. We hear about such people as Saint Germain, and the question has to be asked, can other people's life force extend one's own life force, such as the stories of Saint Germain? Now, when we think of a battery, if you could maintain the energy in the battery or replace the lost energy, potentially by connecting to source, it would never cease. It would seemingly be immortal because it is constantly replenishing itself. Some may ask, the container of the battery, the vessel, the shell itself would age. Some may argue that via the transference of the energy, especially it being youthful, this affects the vessel too, giving it youth, as well as making the energy inside more youthful. Further to this, the question has to be asked again, can that energy or life force itself be transferred from one body to another with the consciousness of previous still intact? This would mean the same person, or life force at least, being able to jump between bodies. The same thing with many faces. It would be like the taking off and the putting on of suits, but instead of suits they are bodies. Relating this back to ourselves, we know this be possible. Ourselves being a spirit inside a container, and that spirit or energy being able to come back and back into different vessels. If that be the case, there would be a way for the energy with its current consciousness in its current form to maintain its life or transfer into another with that consciousness intact. And here we approach the theory of Hollywood and one man playing many roles. So it seems men have hid these secrets, which I know and share, and they use them for selfish benefits, to transcend time and space by connecting to the grid, and in doing so, manipulate and control the world, knowing themselves and knowing life, mostly used for selfish purposes, but once used for good, once everyone aware of the self-awareness of life and the process. With this knowledge in place, we have to ask the question, would there be no cycled loss? And by cycled loss, I mean people coming in and out of the cycle with no remembrance of themselves and who they are. Currently, the system employed uses and ceases the energy before bringing further consciousness through, which again is unaware of itself, through into the same machine over and over and over again until it wakes up and realizes what it is, which in turn releases itself from the cycle. No one can do this for you, only you can do this. And it is the way out. They have guided you into darkness, lying. You must turn around, find the light, see yourself, and release yourself from the illusion of shadows. As you have been in a cave, fearful of the shadows on the wall, unaware they are but shadows to keep you entertained and unaware. But turn around, see, and the chains disappear. They have no control over you, only programmed you to be lost, chopped down the middle like a piece of wood. People often see this as a splitting into two, from one to two. Ultimately, the same process of pureness and unpureness. Water with impureness in it is the same analogy. They give you movies of superheroes when you yourself are super. The stories are about you. They are about every one of us, because the truth is that energy, the energy that people call all different names, as its purest form, is the same force in every living thing. I look at humans and see myself, look at animals and see myself. They can't see me, but I see them as the same, only they don't know it. Like energy that was white and has become blue, they only see the colour. They cannot see they are too energy, and the colour is purely illusion, like the prism of light.
Scavenger girl is no match for the power in me. I am all the Sith.
And I... I'm all the Jedi.
So you are all, and you contain the power of all within you. You are a Jedi, and you contain all Jedis within you. You just need to attach to that, to connect to that. Like how I've been saying, connect to Source. Once we connect to the God within inside of ourselves, we are powered. All of the videos that I make come from spontaneous thought. Essentially, all I am is a conduit connecting to a higher force to receive information and pass it back to you. This for me now comes without trying, how most people have to drop into meditation to connect. I'm naturally connected, and I believe that's through the enlightenment experience that I had, and it will never leave me. So Rey, the Skywalker, essentially what you are, a Jedi. Before I leave you, one thing that I haven't spoke about is when the energy of you is released from the vessel. So in this case, we're talking about the afterlife or death. What happens to that energy? Now, films such as, say, The Poltergeist, although a horror, and something put in place to put you off connecting to the higher source, it does show elements of an electrical being. Without the body, the electrical being can still interact and communicate with objects through devices, again, such as TV, electricity. They can manipulate electrical fields. being one with it, or at least more connected to it, without a body or shell. We see this in the movie as the poltergeist walks around the house and interacting with objects brings life into them, gives them electricity. The daughter that puts her hand on the door handle, an electric current runs through her body, and then the same wardrobe door holds all the metal cars and objects before releasing them when the mom's about to walk into the room. Another thing that stuck out to me in this movie regarding everything that we spoke about the Earth's grid, giant trees, electrical beams, is these pylons, these electrical towers which are situated in the neighbourhood of where the house is situated, and the house ultimately being built on an old cemetery, which indicates to us the energy harvesting from below and electricity being connected to those of the dead. The words themselves have a lot. Graveyards have gravy in the name, which is essentially the juices and all the goodness that comes from the meat. In this case, the dead bodies would create gravy, an energy if you like, hence the name graveyards or graveyards. Cemetery has the word meter in it, indicating energy being collected and metered. With churches, a lot of people look at the church and the spires, which are important, but they forget about the cemetery, which relates specifically to the church spires and the generation of energy. But energy itself, let's just think of oil. They say is made by organic matter, covered and pressurized. Now, doesn't this sound a lot like cemeteries? It fits into that category in so many ways. Essentially, the organic matter is placed into the ground, covered, and due to that, will be pressurized, ultimately creating energy. And it's funny in the movie as we see this type of sludge come up from the ground, almost a tar-like substance, which I relate to this gravy, this substance which is produced through dead bodies. Energy harvesting takes place in the church, but also outside of the church. Graveyards playing a huge part of the energy and energy manipulation, influencing us the same way as battle sites do in many ways. Many dead bodies, just missing the element of violence, but still the energy is there and gets refined. The movie is again centered around children's energy. There are a lot of toy props in the movie, which again indicates towards amusement parks, which I've already spoke about, being attractions for children for energy harvesting. One of the other key points in this scene is the tree, which is located right next to the house. So we have the pylons, the cemetery and the tree all relating, all interlinking, and I see them all as components to this grid. The tree we saw from the first one literally coming alive through the window. Another spot that I made, which isn't really related, but I'll give it to you. The girl, who is the prize, ultimately what the poltergeist is after, is wearing a checkered shirt. Like in a race, she's the final prize, the goal, in which the poltergeist must achieve. The dad, although covered by a jacket in this scene, is wearing a blue top, and so is the mom, which indicates they are passive. Currently in the movie, they are currently passive. They are currently unaware of the danger of the poltergeist, and as the movie changes, their clothings and items will change to show this as the movie develops. The boy wearing red is opposing, he's aware of the poltergeist, he's trying to warn the mom and the dad and the girl, hence the reason he's wearing red, versus them wearing blue, being passive, unaware of it. As I've said, clothing indicates so much in movies, and just by looking at the clothing, you can see the narrative and the roles which are about to be played out. It's like glasses. Glasses often indicate in a movie that someone can see. They know something no one else knows. They see the truth or know something others don't. Wisdom. Seeing clearly with a tool. And in this scene, they're eating pizza, which leads on to another scene, which was a random spot for me. The dad puts a piece of pizza into a cage. And first of all, I thought of my movie The Mousetrap, which I talk about mousetraps being based around the realm, ultimately a smaller version, like a Russian doll scenario of what we are in, us being in a mousetrap ourselves, also linking to my prison movie about us being locked in a cage, ultimately an electrical cage. If we imagine the Rubik's Cube or a similar like objects, and the lines that surround that Rubik's Cube all being electrical, ultimately it's the electrical cage we're inside. But that point aside, he puts pizza inside the trap, which straight away gives me the term Pizzagate, relating to all the missing children, all the evil practices going on in the world through these false narratives and using children's innocence to ultimately do evil things to them. The pizza is placed inside the trap, which ultimately is there to aid the mouse to be trapped. The mouse we could look at such as Mickey Mouse, again associated with children. The idea that these malevolent beings or elites are after our children for their energy, for their pureness. Relating to what I say about us being energy and everything is made of that energy, completely relates to the unseen phenomena such as spirits and ghosts. For me, ghosts are temporary forms, mostly only being able to last for a limited time without the body before fading, still with pollution in them, pain, anger, regret or duty. Also, ghosts can be misunderstood for impressions, which are events that almost scar the electric nature of reality and replay itself due to that trauma left. Almost like a dent has been made, and that dent will mostly always be felt, at least until that dent is no longer a dent. Or a better example may be a movie reel, a video which gets rewritten over and part of that movie has not been recorded, like when you used to record over old tapes, and those older tapes picture may crackle through at times, showing pictures of the old while still watching the new. I see a lot of the trauma created in the realm as almost being scars which pop through, similar to a tape being recorded over. Time, as already explained, not what we are told. And you all know I've done movies around sports and energy harvesting stadium. Isn't it funny that the name sport is very similar to spirits? Spirits just taking the O from sports and replacing it with two I's, which indicate what sport and life actually do perfectly. Takes wholeness or pureness and splits it into two. The false identity and the true identity. Even more than that, many people believe in spirits taking control of players, especially special ones such as Pele, Messi, Best, Ronaldo. Taking us back to the idea that consciousness can be transferred through multiple bodies. A term that I came up with for a future video is body hoppers. And I haven't even gone into spirits the drink, which intoxicate you and make you act in other ways. Ultimately, you are a vessel, you are a spirit, you are energy yourself, which can be manipulated and changed and harvested. All I'm trying to do in this video is make you aware of who you are to take your power back. We live in an electrical universe, and you are an electrical being. And you can choose to have your energy harvested and taken from you, manipulated and controlled. Or you can take your energy back. You can take control back and ultimately become a super. Which is essentially the message of Jesus Christ. The true Jesus Christ, which hasn't been manipulated and changed. The truth is there to set you free.